Hello and welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoons, the weekly podcast that revisits, reviews, and ridicules some of the world's weirdest animated series. I'll be your host, Dave Trumbore. With me today, as always, man, he has got some stinky pits. It's Sean Paul Ellis. How's it going, sir?
David, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good, buddy. It's just going to be a Dave and Sean show tonight.
Oh
It's going
yeah,
to get intimate.
just two guys just hanging out,
Just
talking about
two
cartoons.
guys watching kids' cartoons, maybe drinking some beers.
Two, two guys. Oh yeah, you know what? We should say this is the final of our New Year's
Ooh, it
Nicktoons.
is. That's sad. It's
So
unfortunate. At
I
least this round. This round, you
it's
know.
for this round
Right.
exactly because there are plenty more Nicktoons that we have not even begun to get into,
Yep,
and that's exciting.
it is.
But I'm gonna raise a glass right now
Mm.
and cheers to you, David, for the last 5 weeks of New Year's Nicktoons.
Clink,
Congratulations.
clink
Clink.
of the
Long
glasses.
distance digital clink.
Yeah, congratulations. Now, this has been fun. I think this was a good idea to do the New Year's Nicktoons. If we are still running next New Year's, we can go do the next wave of them. And honestly, we'll be getting into some territory that I don't really even know. Like,
Ooh, dangerous territory.
yeah, danger zone. We'll get into some jungle
Some,
regions with the wild
getting,
thornberries, maybe. I don't know.
yeah, that's like Kenny Loggins for me.
Yeah, what? Oh,
Danger
dangers.
zone.
Oh, it took me a
Come
second. I was like, wait a
on.
minute. Kenny Loggins had a
Come
Nicktoon? I'd watch a
on.
Kenny Loggins Nicktoon.
Fun fact: Kenny Loggins owns pretty much a majority of the Amazon rainforest.
How about that?
Is-
And this podcast. He is a major stakeholder in Saturday morning cartoons. Hey, a while ago we were trying to remember the Nicktoon that was. We kept saying like Team Rocket or like Rocket Power or something like that. It might be Rocket Power. I think it's Rocket Power. I think that's the one.
yeah.
Does that
It
sound right?
actually, it is. I wrote it down. I have it in my notes. Oh
Yeah.
my
I
God.
almost
Yeah,
said Rocket
It
Squad,
is
and I was like,
rocket
wait a
power.
minute,
It
dummy,
is
that's
rocket
not
power.
right. Okay, it's
It is
Rocket Power.
rocket power because I don't know if you're aware of this, but the same production company that put together this week's cartoon
Oh,
also put together Rocket Power
interesting.
as well as also as told by Ginger and the Wild
I
Thornberries.
don't know. As told by Ginger, that's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like for me it was sort of like a Pepper Ann
Yeah, that's
ripoff,
what I
or
figured.
maybe
Yeah.
maybe not a Pepper Ann ripoff, but I mean again it's one of those great shows that stars like a solid female lead and just kind of explores things from a woman's point of view. And let's be honest, we're two dudes talking about cartoons, so I mean we appreciate somebody else's viewpoint
Yeah, we'll bring a
because
lady in for that one
yeah,
because
we'll
we
bring.
don't know what we're doing.
I love that we're just like so the solution to figuring this out is we're just gonna bring in a woman.
We'll bring
Like
in
we're
a
just gonna
woman.
bring in a woman
We're
who's gonna
not
be
even
more
gonna put on
educated.
airs. She'll just run the show.
Oh no.
Yeah, because that's how
Oh
it works.
boy. Oh my God,
But
Dave.
before
What?
we get there,
Ooh, I'm like extending my shirt collar like an old vaudeville like joke that's bombed.
I like it.
Ugh,
That's
yikes.
every week on this show. I'll tell you what, though.
So
Speaking of strong female characters, the one on this show tonight, and actually maybe one and a half, which we'll talk about in a second, but
yeah.
the one female character on this show, I was always a really big fan of. I was also a very big fan of the voice actor behind the scenes. Got some distressing news today about her, which we will talk about once we get into the characters of the show. So, not to bring it down, but I was kind of disappointed and depressed by that. I had no idea that she had passed. Unfortunately, she had passed. So yeah,
Yes. So we should explain what show we actually did watch
yeah, that's
this
probably a good
week.
idea. You want to take that one?
I want to do it where I scream the intro,
I
but
figured, yeah, I
it's
figured you could do that
no, but
because I
it's
can.
we watched Real Monsters this week.
I would do it like a real monsters, like a eh.
I like that your intro is just like I'm bored.
It's like I guess they're real monsters, whatever.
Hey, Real
Eh.
Monsters.
No, it's
So
great though.
yeah.
Actually, I really enjoyed it. But yeah, you want to tell the folks what it was about a little bit? I don't know, wherever the spirit takes you.
Oh yeah, sure. So the All Real Monsters was animated by the production company that we mentioned
Hmm.
previously. I believe it was Klasky uh,
Klasky Supo is how I've always said it.
Supo.
Yeah, because
Okay.
that's Gabor
Cla-
Supo or Supo Gabor,
right,
however his name is.
right,
Yeah.
right, right. Yeah.
Hmm.
So Klasky Supo for Nickelodeon. So fun fact, they did Rugrats.
Right.
They were the
Exactly.
production company behind Rugrats, and around the time that like the first wave, the first three Nicktoons were kind of wrapping up,
Hmm.
um, and I guess maybe Rocco had aired at that point because this came on. This ran from October 30th of 1994 to December 7th of 1997.
Hmm.
So 4 seasons totaling 52 episodes total. The thing that I was reading about was that Klasky, um, they were kind of coming up, or they were trying to come up with like an idea for like whatever their next show was going to be, and they knew that like a lot of the shows that they had, like with Doug and Rugrats, those had people, and then Rocco's and Ren and Stimpy had animals,
Right.
anthropomorphic animals, and they
Real
were just like,
animals
we
that
need,
existed. They were
yeah,
just, animated and stylized. Yeah.
and they were just like, we need something different, like we need something that is not something that Nickelodeon has done
Right.
before, and so they had sketchbook full of a bunch of like different monsters and stuff like that, and so this is what they pitched, and so this is what got picked up.
Yeah, it's actually one of my. I don't know if I want to say one of my favorites because all these have a special place, like in my memory and in my heart as a little kid. But this one was very different. I mean, they're as different from each other as can be. But this, like Sean said, this is the first one that came up with real imagined. They came up with the imagined characters. It wasn't something that they just took
No,
inspiration from life.
I'd say this one is like really, really. I'd say this one is very
Oh,
imaginative.
definitely. Probably the
Um,
most out of the five we've talked about, I think, because everything else is kind of set in a realistic setting, and this one is to a point, but it's very stylized, and there's a lot of imagination going on, and there's a lot of just like kind of crazy energy, creative energy going on in every scene. There's always something going on. There's always something moving, whether it's in the background or whether it's the characters interacting with their environment. There's a lot of energy in each of the scenes, and that's what I really,
that was actually
yeah.
that was one of the notes that I wrote down about the show. Was I was like, every environment is completely
Oh
editable
yeah.
through all of these like
Because monsters eat anything, so it doesn't matter what it is.
it's like everything that's like in their surroundings. They're just like, oh, I'm just gonna take a bite
I'm
out of
just
this
gonna
right
eat
now.
that
It's like
piece
this
of
is
metal
this is
can.
delicious.
Yeah. These roaches
Um,
crawling around, this slop that just fell off of a truck. I'm just gonna eat it.
yeah,
It's gonna be tasty.
this is everything. Even if it comes out of another monster, they're just
Oh
gonna
yeah.
put it
There are
right
there
back
are
into the mouth.
scenes where they're just like other monsters are around this central monster who's talking, or he's the focus of the brief scene, and he's just like oozing green stuff, and they're just dipping chips into him like some sort of
Yeah,
like bowl of
it's
cheese
like
dip.
he's
Oh,
guacamole
it's
or
amazing. I
some
want to
type of
live in
toasted
that
verde.
world where I'm like I can just eat everything around me. I really do.
that was that was like the one moment where I kind of like I don't know if I was not repulsed, but I kind of like cringed a little bit. I was like, oh god,
There
that
are
seems
there are moments like that, yeah, because you don't expect that to begin with. You don't expect them to interact with their environment like that, but you also don't expect them to just like eat each other's bodily secretions. It's so
right.
disturbing, but in a fun, gross way that you can obviously see how it appeals to kids, just because it's so
Right.
gross and it's funny. And I think that's just like a good staple of their humor in this show. Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, if it's a continuing gag, I mean, it was super successful for
It's a
them. So,
continuing gag for Sean because he retches a little bit every time he sees it. So yeah, continuing gag.
oh boy. One of the things we mentioned that this one 4 seasons, 52
Hmm.
episodes, and in kind of researching some of this for the show, uh, we are now at this is our 36th episode
Correct.
that we are doing
Going
for
strong.
Saturday morning
Yeah.
cartoons, morning with
You
you.
could listen to us every
Um,
day for a month and still have bonus episodes, my friends.
oh, bonus Jonases.
Bonus
So,
Jonas.
so I was reading a little bit about this show, and I came across something that I have never come across in just sort of the research with this,
Hmm.
and shame on me for not coming up with it sooner. But there is evidently, so we have complained and lamented about the fact that many of the shows that we have watched have had like 65 episodes for one
Right.
season. And we've noticed it as like a reoccurring trend for a lot of the things that came
Yeah,
out
like
during the 80s and the early
yeah, like
90s.
pre 92 or 93. And honestly, I think maybe the Nicktoons might have been the first ones that kind of heralded in this new approach. Yeah.
Right. And it was something that was just kind of like I don't know. We kept seeing it consistently pop up, like Brave Stars, 65 episodes, one season,
Right.
and
Yeah,
there's an
not
actual
great
reason for
shows
this.
either. So it wasn't like based on the quality of the show. Like, man, this is a great show. 65
Yeah,
episodes. It was just whatever with 65
yeah. I
episodes. Yeah.
mean, come on, was it Spiral Zone hit
Ooh,
65? I mean, like,
somehow they reached for it, but yeah, they got there.
every episode was pretty much like a new yoga move for them. I mean, they were stretching the entire
Hmm.
fucking time. Like, this is not great.
Nope.
So there is something that is evidently called the 65 episode cartoon
Right.
rule, and it's many Western cartoon series. I'm reading from tvtropes.org. It says many Western cartoon series have had original runs lasting 65 episodes because 65 episodes equals 13 weeks or 3 months of material
Hmm.
that can be syndicated at one episode per weekday.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think we've mentioned that before. We probably just never really kind of connected those two sides of that. Of that fact, we knew that it was airing every weekday, even though this show is Saturday morning cartoons, and most of these we remember as airing on on the weekends. But yeah, a lot of these were just afternoon shows that they would come on when kids got home from school, and they'd be on Monday through Friday, a new show every day, and we just didn't really think about it. And then I guess in the '90s that kind of changed, and I think you got some tidbits on a couple of reasons why that may have changed.
So it looks like for a lot of the cartoons that were that were produced for like first run
Hmm.
syndication, it was a policy that had been adopted by the Disney
Right.
Channel. And I guess they have like this, and it was also adopted by Kids WB. And so it was something that they kind of had a lot of these shows that went, and it does specify in a very particular fashion that like this is for children's cartoons,
Right.
not adult
Right.
cartoons like what I guess they would qualify The Simpsons as,
Yep.
because that's clearly broken the mold several times over. But for children's cartoons, it was like even for some of the Disney live action shows that they would
Hmm.
do, like even Stevens, those all when they hit 65 episodes, or even I think Lizzie McGuire, um, when those would hit that 65 episode mark, that heralded in like the end of the show.
Hmm.
That was it. And so at sometimes those shows, people were very frustrated with this rule and this idea
Right.
because they would have built this following, they would have built this audience that they had, and then this was just kind of a rule that a lot of networks had kind of put in place just to kind of be able to move some of this stuff out to syndication, to be able to bring in a new show and create a new audience. And so,
Yeah, it's just such a strange rule. I
hmm,
mean, I get wanting to have new content delivered every day and to, like you said, build that audience, but man, that's like inconceivable in this day and age of like
yeah,
tight production budgets, and there's just so much competition out there, just channel to channel, provider to provider, show to show. I can't even imagine somebody still having that rule today. I mean, yeah, it's been gone for
right,
20 plus years, but
sure,
it's just, I mean, it's crazy that like in our lifetimes that used to be the norm. Like they were just like, yeah, well, a
yeah.
Spiral Zone sounds great. Here's 65 episode order, do what you can. And now it's just like you're lucky if you get a handful, if you get 12 or 13.
It's not even that. It's just for shows that at the time were doing. I mean, were finding their groove.
Hmm.
Like had fought to come back on at certain points,
Right,
like Pirates of Darkwater and Exo
right.
Squad. Like we only got like a couple episodes. Like I think what was it? Exo Squad was like 20 something,
So, yeah, 17,
and
21, something
yeah,
like
they
that,
were
some odd
like
number.
I think both Exo Squad and Pirates of Darkwater
Hmm.
were in like the low 20s, and it was just like man, like if you like I think the let me make sure I get this correct.
Uh-oh. Here
Had I
comes some
gotten
facts.
65 episodes for a lot of these
Yeah.
shows, I kind of always wonder like would I have gotten tired of them in the way that I kind of grew sick of Spiral Zone? Because I mean, as Dave mentioned, like for a lot of the time, like when they're slashing budgets and they're doing these different things, and they're trying to make as much money as they
Right.
can, and so they're trying to make as much product as they
Yeah,
can,
and
and
the
so
profit
there are
margins on that too. That's
sacrifices.
probably why they changed to this model too. So it's like they look at
Right.
their margins and they're like, are we gonna commit to a 65 episode run of dedicating this
Right.
studio and these talented creative folk to this for that whole time, or are we just gonna do it for a couple weeks and see how it goes? Yeah.
And I mean, you think about like you think about something like Pirates of Darkwater, where they were going to like a new location, they were sailing to a new locale like every
Yeah, you
week.
can't
Like
reuse
with
those
Spy,
scenes, right?
yeah, with Spiral Zone, they were just like, oh, we're just gonna reuse every. I know I'm picking on Spiral
Well, that's
Zone,
because
but
it's
fuck them.
terrible.
Like they just like fuck them. Like, but I mean, they just like they used things over and over. I mean, Voltron used things over
Well,
and
that was,
over,
and
and that
that's why
was
Japanese animation, I think, and man, we are getting like way off track, but I don't really care too much because this is a fun topic. Probably a good
let's get
topic
into it.
for another whole episode, maybe with like a guest speaker or something that knows a bit more. But yeah, I mean, if you can reuse backgrounds or do the traditional kind of Japanese anime style of like a still background that you just kind of pan the camera across, so you have one drawing basically, and then you pan the camera across to make it look like you're animating the scene, and then build the animation in on top of that. That was kind of a way that a lot of the studios kind of got that done, and they
Yeah.
saved a lot of money by doing it that way. And you can definitely pick it out, from episode to episode, if not show to show sometimes. But yeah, there's a lot of cool little tricks they did to like trim the budget and make their own style. And I'd love to just talk
or
about the
even
style of different
Yeah.
genres someday. But yeah.
I've recently started watching a particular Japanese anime very
Hmm.
recently, and I've noticed a lot of times that like I used to read the manga for this, and now uh, I'm watching Naruto, and
Oh, dude,
it
I'm like up to
yeah.
the. I mean, I'm up to date with it now as far as the Americans can be. So
Okay.
I'm caught up every new week, or every week I watch the new episode that comes out. So I'm all
I
caught
have
up to
I have
that.
a very good friend who's reading the manga,
Nice.
and the manga has now concluded
Exactly. Right.
in Shonen
But
Jump,
they
and so
said there's
like
still so much left for that one, as far as the
there is,
animated to
and
go. Yeah.
there is, and like it'll be good, and it'll be a lot of fun to watch like everything going through its course.
Right.
But it's just nice to know that now there's a definitive end, and there's an ending that they can work and build towards,
Yeah,
and
and
I
honestly,
can appreciate that.
yeah, probably my
But
last point.
it's just
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
oh, sorry, I was just gonna say like the one thing that I noticed is that like there are a lot of times where like they will obscure like somebody's like their mouth, or they will like so that you don't actually have to like animate
Oh
lips
yeah, yeah,
moving
definitely.
or
Well, like
or
Kakashi
it'll be
has
the
his
back.
mask drawn
Yeah,
up the
it'll be the
entire
back of
time. Yeah.
yeah, like it'll be the back of Kakashi, and it's like he's talking, and it's like scrolling and panning up his
Yeah,
back,
yeah.
and so like you don't see anything whatsoever. It's just everybody like freeze frame, like looking like ready to go. Like yeah, it's just it's good, but I mean at the same time like I think kind of when you look at these things and you kind of I don't know.
I don't know, man. I do
You
like
apply a
that.
critical eye to them. You're
Yes.
just like, oh, okay, this is what they're doing. Like
Yeah,
this
this
is
is
the
their
corner
cost
that they're cutting
saving
right now.
technique. Yeah, and I'd love to have a discussion someday about just like the different styles and techniques that they use for that because that's great.
Yeah.
And honestly, like to draw it back to real monsters, like we were talking about the environment and how like active and alive it is. I don't think that they were like, oh, we definitely have to save. We have to save money on the budget for this because they're just like, fuck it, let's animate everything. Everything's gonna move. Everything's gonna draw your attention to it. And it's going to be different every week. Maybe we should talk about what the show's actually about after that little
Oh my
aside.
god.
You want to talk? You want to tell folks about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this show follows three young
Yeah.
monsters who are named Ickis, Oblina, and Crumb.
Mm,
They attend like it's like an institute, like a college university for
right.
monsters that is in the local city dump, and this takes place in New York
Right.
City. Um,
Lots of
which
trash.
they yeah, yeah
Lots of people to scare.
lots of but I mean like they reference like certain
Hmm.
locations in New York City, like Empire State Building in certain episodes, and so they're like it's not very hard to tell exactly where they are. They're not hiding it like the Simpsons are hiding
Right.
where they live.
Right.
Like it's apparent.
What I didn't get, I saw that note too. What I didn't understand was that they said this university or this school is at the Fresh Kills landfill. Is that a real place? It seemed like a real
I don't
place.
know. I don't
Because
know.
that sounds like a terrible, terrible place and
Fresh
terrible name.
kills.
It's called the Fresh Kills Landfill, even though they don't like call it by name. That's what the wiki page list says.
Yikes.
Fresh Kills Landfill. Yeah, creepy stuff. But hey, man, that's a great
So
place
yeah.
for monsters to hang out. It's kind of like it reminded me of a little bit of like Monsters Inc. or Monsters University if you saw that. But
Yes.
obviously, like 10, if not 20 years before that ever came out,
Right.
because again, this was '94. Or
I kind of wondered
yeah,
like when I watched this like because you quickly realize that like every episode revolves around so they're in this monster
right,
college, and so they're learning how to scare
right,
humans, and so all of the episodes really kind of revolve around them being tasked with some assignment to go out and scare like a human, or sometimes they scare animals. um and so it's just that's like the beginning of like every episode is them sort of like, or maybe not the beginning of every
well,
episode,
but
but
it's
that's
like the
like the
central plot or the central kind
yes,
of conflict for every
or
episode.
at
Yeah,
least like in some way leads to like the madcap adventure that they
yeah,
have as
exactly.
a part of it. So
And yeah, I mean, so we mentioned the characters of the show. I don't know. Do you want to talk about sort of their description now, or do you want to get into the intro first before we get to the description? So people, I
yeah,
want
let
them to
me
have a
so
good, strong visual idea if they're not familiar with these characters of who we're talking about and what they look like, because each of them has a really cool design and they're very
yes.
unique. So I like that. But
So the one thing I know that we've talked a lot about, different theme songs. For this was more of a hybrid. There were certain elements I think of this theme song that seemed like it was made just for
yeah,
this intro, and then there were also some clips that were put in. So it is a true hybrid in that in that sense. And so it's fun. It's a lot of fun to watch, and I enjoyed the theme song. I don't know that it really like set me up
No.
per se for like what was going to happen. Like there was no introduction of characters. I mean, there was just a lot of like moving
Yeah,
stuff,
just like
lightning
montage
flashing.
clips of things running around. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it
But the
was.
one thing
Yeah.
that is, oh, go ahead.
No, no, no. This is where you're headed because I was going to say, it's not a
Yeah.
hybrid just visually. It's also a hybrid, the audio quality of it because it's kind of a musical interlude with some sound effects
Yes.
and stuff thrown in. But there's one very specific one that we wanted to draw your attention to.
So at the very end, there's kind of like this like pained scream. And if you've ever watched like any of the Indiana Jones
Or any
movies,
movie.
uh, or any pretty much any
Yeah.
movie, there is like a famous sound bite of a man screaming that they've used countless times in probably hundreds and hundreds of movies.
Oh yeah.
That if you were to listen to it, you'd be like, "Oh my God, like this is that scream. Like this makes sense." And it's called the Wilhelm scream.
And if you
So if
Google
you
that, you
want
can
to,
find like just YouTube clips that are probably
yeah,
hours long of just the scream and different scenes over and over and over and over again.
so
Famous
it
ones like
is,
he mentioned, like
yeah,
Indiana Jones, Star Wars. There's a lot of
right.
old westerns and stuff that used it every time somebody fell off a horse. They would just cue that scream up, or fell off a
It's kind of
bridge. It
like
didn't
a
matter. You would know.
like
You would
I
know when you heard it. Yeah,
yeah.
you would know it.
Don't listen to my
This is going
terrible
to be
rendition
Sean's
of
new
it.
scream. I hope
Like
somebody recorded that out there, and they're just going to use it in all their indie videos
I'm
from now on.
David, I'm recording it. We're recording it right now.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
million
Yeah.
dollar idea.
Yeah.
Take that, you jerks. We're gonna
Million
have
bucks.
it first.
We're gonna have it
We're gonna
worst.
have it worst.
Um, we're gonna have it
Yeah.
worst. So the Wilhelm scream is like this very notable scream, and so when I was watching the intro, I was just like, oh my God, like are they using the Wilhelm
Yeah,
scream
because that's like a fun thing
in this?
for producers and sound
Sure.
designers and stuff to do is try to sneak that into TV shows or movies and try to get it past the director because it's a very kind of like canned sound that's been around for what 60,
Right.
70 years almost. So everybody
And just
knows it. Yeah.
after our conversation last week with
Yeah,
Tony,
yeah.
like learning a little bit more about Foley, it was just like I'm curious to I want to know what this sound effect is.
Yeah.
Like I'm curious to know what they used. Turns out there is a second
A second
scream.
scream.
There's a second scream. There's a second shooter. And so like I had never heard of this, but there is another scream that they will typically use as a sound effects, and it is called a Howie scream.
Howie. Yep.
And like I'm kind of blown away because like at first listen I was like, this is a Wilhelm scream, holy crap, like I'm excited about this. And then we found, we'll post this on our Tumblr and our site,
Yep.
the link to this, but there is like we found a couple articles that are very interesting that just kind of go through and sort of discuss the difference between the Wilhelm as well as also the Howie scream. And
Yeah,
so
and one of the ways that
um,
they actually make that difference apparent to the listeners out there is by using this very introduction. They use this
yeah.
show's intro, which I don't know if that's how Sean stumbled upon it or not, but they use it. That's their little evidence for like, oh, you've heard the Howie scream. It's in this intro. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean it's brilliant. It sounds great. Like, if you're listening to it, you're like, that is a very notable
oh yeah,
scream. Holy crap, is that? No, it's not. Like, I don't know. I was kind of shocked as I was reading more about it today that I didn't know about this earlier.
I
Um,
mean, I knew the
and
Wilhelm. I think everybody kind of did that, but I didn't know that there was a
did you
Howie out
like?
there.
I didn't know that there was an actual Wilhelm
Oh yeah, yeah,
scream
yeah. No,
until
I knew that.
until maybe I was in like late in college, like right before I
Oh
graduated.
sure.
Uh, I went to a concert, I think, down at Duquesne with
Okay.
my sister in Pittsburgh, and one of the bands was called the Wilhelm Scream,
Really
and I was
interesting.
just like, oh, like what is this? And I was blown away. I was like, this is an actual thing. And they're like, oh yeah, oh my God, like I mean they were cool people, and it opened up my mind to like something that I'd never heard of before. So
Yeah,
I
it
was like,
was it was
oh,
something
oh,
that I had heard, and for some reason that in my mind I combined the Wilhelm scream with the famous painting of the scream, and I'm
of the
like,
scream.
oh yeah, that was totally Wilhelm's scream. Like yeah, famous impressionist painter Wilhelm painting his scream. I'm like, no, you dummy. These are two very different things. You uncultured fuck. But yeah, I mean, if you look for the
Oh
Wilhelm
my
scream,
God.
the lore of it's pretty cool because they don't know the name of the like extra or the stunt actor who actually did it the first time, and they just happened to catch it on the
Wow.
while they were recording on studio. And he might have actually been falling off a horse. I don't remember what the actual story was, but
I feel like almost for the length of time that he's
Yeah.
screaming for the Wilhelm scream,
Yeah.
I feel like whatever the person was doing, it ended tragically.
Yeah.
Like
Maybe that's
they
why we
like
don't know his name because they didn't
yeah,
want to get sued for killing an extra on set.
this is this is like Hollywood's way of like covering up the body. They're just like,
It's like, oh no,
you don't want to know how the sausage is
that's
made,
right.
but
Because we
you're
made that
gonna
guy
enjoy,
into sausage.
yeah, you're gonna enjoy the sausage. So just enjoy the sausage, all right,
Yeah.
guys.
It's catered.
And don't worry about it. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's craft services.
It's craft
So
services sausage.
yeah,
Wilhelm's
so
sausage. Can we open up a sausage? I almost said sausage factory. Can we open up a sausage company called
hey, we
Wilhelm
can totally
Sausage?
open up a sausage factory. Yes.
It's Sean and Dave from
Waiting,
Saturday Morning
been waiting
Cartoons.
for you to say that. I'm
Buddy.
so excited about this endeavor.
Well, it's recorded now, so I can't back out of that one.
Sorry, you were
Oh
saying.
dear, I have no idea what I was saying to be honest with you.
You were saying, can we open a
No, I
thing?
pretty much yeah, I just wanted to open a sausage factory, so it's all
All
good.
right. Well, that
Called
makes
Wilhelm Sausage.
Wilhelm sausage.
And
I
I'll
like
never
it.
remember how we came up with that idea, like anything else.
Can it be something where it has like one of those boards where like one of those like sandwich boards where it's been X number of days since our last accident,
Absolutely, we can do
and
that.
every time there is an accident, we play the Wilhelm scream.
That sounds good. I'll definitely do that. As long as it is a factory in which that was really good, in which I can eat
Thank you.
everything. I want to be able to eat everything. It's going to be an edible factory.
Edible factory.
Mm.
Well, I mean, to bring this back to Our Real Monsters,
Yeah.
pretty much everything that was in the environment is edible, so you should make it in a city dump.
Yeah, you should, because everything there is rotting and it's been thrown out already, so it's just kind of free for the taking. Oh, and there's lots of little creepy crawlies that populate the entire place, so you can
Mm,
just eat
mm,
everything.
mm, mm,
I'm going
mm.
to ask you now, of our three
Uh,
characters, who's your favorite? And then we'll get into the descriptions of them.
Oh my gosh,
It's a tough one because they're all pretty strong.
it's hard. Like I really like Crumb.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That's like one of the biggest things. So we should explain the design for Crumb.
Right.
He is. How did you explain this earlier?
Oh,
Like,
you're gonna
no,
have
no,
me.
no. He's sort of like a torso,
Hmm.
but the torso is his entire mouth,
Hmm.
like two stubby legs, two stubby hands, and each hand holds one of his eyeballs.
Yeah, so he's constantly just got his armpits exposed, his hands in the air holding his eyeballs up, and they blink even though they don't have lids, and he can kind of
Right.
throw them around. He likes to just juggle them or just roll them across the floor or whatever. Um,
Juggle them
but
on.
he's also a little naked, hairy man.
Yeah, yeah. He
So,
kind of, yeah.
yeah,
That's a good description.
he's a little naked, hairy man. He's basically if Danny DeVito was a monster, more of a monster than he is.
Thank you.
If he was less troll and more real monster, this would be Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I think the thing that really made me fall in love with Crumb
yeah.
with watching it this time was that he completely accepts who he
Oh,
is.
totally.
Like there is nothing like I'm so jealous of the fact that he is 100% comfortable with the person he is.
He's only got one kind of flaw, and it has to do with his smell, his body odor, and we'll talk about that once we get to the episode discussion. But yeah, he's
Right.
100% confident in who he is, and he's not like a jerk. He's just kind of like
Yeah.
he likes to
He's
have fun. He's a free,
like
what's the
he's
word?
the kind of person that like if you were ever in in down spirits or you were upset and like you just hang out with him, he'd just be like, "Hey man, everything's cool.
Yeah,
Like don't worry about it."
it could
Like
be like the worst situation. He would just kind of like laugh and just find like a silver lining kind of thing in it. And he's not like
yeah.
overly, he's not overly peppy or happy or optimistic. He's real chill. He's a little naked hairy dude that's holding his eyeballs, and he's just out for a good time, and he's
He just
great.
there are like multiple times where people will tell him that like he smells or that he stinks
Hmm.
or that he's like the stinkiest and that he's disgusting. And every time they say it, he just 100% accepts it as if they're paying him a
Yeah.
compliment. Now, like, I mean, like, I don't know about you, Dave, but like scent is very important for me.
Hmm.
Like, I, I shower. I like to smell good. I don't like to. I don't like to go. I'm not somebody
You're
who
not
can
a
like
you're not a
go.
crumb. You're not a crumb.
Yeah, I'm not a crumb. I don't. I feel disgusting if I
Hmm.
go like a day without a shower. Like that is
Yep, you and me both.
something that I just don't like to do. Like personal hygiene is super up there for me. And so like with Crumb, like to see to see somebody just be like, oh yeah, I'm totally gross and disgusting. I would cringe, but Crumb is just like, oh yeah, that's exactly who I am. Like I'm the filthiest of the filthy.
And it's
Like
funny they play it up from both sides. So it's not only like he's proud of being dirty and having this like powerful odor, and everybody in the monster world kind of like, yes, they congratulate him on that, and they're just like, oh God, you stink, fantastic, and he's like, oh, thank you so much. But they also play it up the other end, like they, at one point he often gets like cleaned against his will. Like there's a
yeah.
point where they're like, we should probably get you a shower, and he's like, oh no, we're not gonna do that.
Oh no, that's a bad
Oh,
idea.
that's a bad idea. I don't shower. Or he gets like accidentally thrown into a car wash. Or in one episode,
Yeah.
he there's a curse that afflicts his family, and he actually
Right.
loses his smell for a time being. So like that is his only kind of like his kind of sore spot, his kind of his one thing that if he loses, he's lost all sense of identity. If he loses his sense of scent, his sense
His,
of odor,
his
because everything else is like free spirit, easygoing guy. But he just has great lines, and he's got a great energy, and he's got a really cool design that they don't just design these monsters and then leave it at that. They're not just like, oh, here's your character. They do things throughout the episode. Like I said, he'll be sitting there, and maybe he won't be talking at this point, but he'll be in frame, and he'll just start juggling his eyeballs, just
yeah.
for no reason. And I love the stuff like that. Just the attention to detail and the energy in each scene. They always have them doing something. He's always throwing his eyes around. You'd think maybe he'd want to
Right.
keep them a little closer to home because they're all he's got. But no, he didn't care. He just throws them around, lets people
No,
play
no,
with
he
them, whatever.
really like. I mean, he will hold them like in his mouth on many
Yeah, if he's got to use
occasions.
his hands.
He will use them surprisingly well for like recon. To
Yeah,
like
it's like a little
get around the
drone.
Snorch.
Exactly,
Yeah, like
exactly.
it's crazy. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So
so we like
I think
Crumb.
yeah. So we really like
And
Crom. So we really like
I
Crom.
would have to say probably the opposite of Crumb, because Crumb is confident, he's very sure of himself, he knows who he
Yes.
is and what he's capable of and what his limitations are. The opposite has to be Ickis. Oh,
Yes.
and I'd like to say real quick that Crumb, great voice, voiced by David Eccles. I just had to mention that. Ickis is voiced by Charlie Adler, who you would recognize from a number of other voice roles, but he's got kind of this high pitched, kind of squeaky, kind of unsure, underconfident as much as Crumb is overconfident, and just like really not sure of himself at all. He's a scaredy cat or a scaredy bunny because he's basically just like a red. He looks like a red bunny.
Yeah, it looks just like a red, kind of like a big red, long-eared,
Yeah,
kind of like hoop skirt bunny.
yeah, he's he's a weird looking creature, and they make fun of him constantly within the show. That kids are always mistaking him for like a stuffed bunny, or other monsters are picking on him because of his big ears, and he's not really frightening. He's probably the smallest of the crew. He's not really, there's nothing about him that's just like, oh, that's a real monster. Like he's just kind of,
He's just jittery and he's nervous
he's like
and
Mike from Monsters
he
Inc. Like he's not, except
yeah
Mike was like way overconfident because he was overcompensating. So Ickis is kind of like Mike without that overconfidence. So
yeah
he's struggling, man. And when we see him in this show, he's struggling to get through school and to do things right and to not get in trouble. But at least he has his two friends with him though too. I mean, they get him through a lot of stuff, and they all work
yeah.
really well together. Yeah,
And rounding out the trio
definitely.
is Oblina, and she was voiced by Christine
The
Cavanaugh.
late Christine Cavanaugh,
Oh
unfortunately, that
God.
makes me so sad.
Oh,
She
yeah.
passed. I mean, man, it was about a month ago. Not even, or it was a little bit more than a month ago. And I had no idea. I was doing the recon kind of on this show, and I knew she had voiced Oblina. I knew I was a big fan of her work in other cartoons. I had no clue that she had passed. I just checked out her IMDb page, and she was like dead at 51, which is insane.
Yeah.
So unfortunate. We'll raise a glass to Miss Cavanaugh out
Mm.
there. But yeah,
Clink.
Oblina. Did you like Oblina's
She,
design?
I did. I thought
Yeah,
it was always very interesting
yeah,
and very weird. The thing that's unique about the character design for this show is that uh, like Oblina and Crumb, like Oblina had like the ability to like change shape
right.
and she could change color, and she could kind of really like kind of augment her body as much as she would
Yeah,
want.
easily like the most
Um,
talented of the scarers, at least of these three.
yes,
Yeah,
she was kind of like the Hermione of this
that's
game.
exactly what I was thinking. Like if you could translate
Um,
this over to Harry Potter fairly easily,
yeah,
just
you
without
really,
a
you
heroic
really, you
leap.
really could.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so like she just she's very intelligent. She's
Yeah, she's kind of well off
um
too. I think she comes from like a wealthy monster family, whatever that looks like.
yeah.
Yeah, which you can tell by her pseudo British accent. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So she and she looks like a barbershop uh black and white kind of candy cane.
yeah, yeah.
With like
Sometimes like a
with
snake, kind of
yeah,
snakish.
with giant red
Right.
lips and sort of like greenish eyes with like stunningly amazing eyelashes.
Yeah,
Like
fantastic.
girl had a good girl had it
That's how
going
you knew
on.
she was a lady monster.
Yeah, that's how she was a lady
That's how you knew.
monster.
You knew Crumb was a boy monster because of his stinky, hairy armpits, and
Yeah.
then Oblina had the eyelashes, so it was good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for a lot of the other like background cast,
Oh man.
I think with for a lot of them, it was very hard to in some. I mean, in some you could either like spot on tell exactly what the gender was, but
Right.
there were a couple where like when you would watch, you'd just be like, what are they? Like you could only really tell sometimes I think because of like the voice actor who
Or
was
the
behind it,
context, yeah. And
right?
some of them even
So
switched. There were a couple. There was like a rotating face monster that was like kind of androgynous. You couldn't tell if like
yeah,
one
yeah,
face was male and one was female, or if they were both just whatever.
tranny
Tranny
monster.
monster. Ooh, speaking of,
Don't let that monster conform to your gender congruency. Like that, monsters can do whatever they
you
want.
can't label
Like
these monsters, man. They're real monsters. You
yeah.
can't label them.
Like there's one monster called Frunk.
Yes.
he's, he's like a trash can. He's the guy that kind of just like leaks
Yeah.
green goop
He's the
all over the
guacamole
dimension.
monster. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the guacamole monster. Yes. So like he continually oozes and people just like dip chips and like
Yeah.
pita
And he's
chips
cool with
and
it.
yeah, he loves
Yeah,
it.
he
Who
didn't care.
cares?
But I love the
Um,
design of all like the background ones too. There's the one we definitely
yes.
need to talk about, but um,
Is it slime bucket?
no, I actually want
He's
to talk about
is a
one.
literal slime
He's just a
bucket.
bucket of
He's
slime
just
that
a
they just
bucket of
call
slime.
slime bucket. No, no, no. You'll know who I'm talking about in a second. But I love the background design. I actually had a chance to go to Pixar when they were working on Monsters University, and just talking to the animators and the storyboard artists and just the creative team that was behind that. They were like, look, Monsters Inc. was awesome, but we really needed to expand the world, and we needed more monsters in the background because of this. And of course, they have a couple hero monsters that they do special things on screen that like catch your attention, but they've got a cast of like hundreds, if not thousands, that are just walking around in the background. And the way they did it was interesting. They basically took like they broke each monster down into a set of categories and then just combined them all in different permutations to get almost like an
Huh.
unlimited supply of monsters. So it was kind of
Wow,
like,
that's really cool.
legs or wings or like a slime trail versus, one eye, two eyes, four eyes, things like that. And All Real Monsters kind of had the same technique. There were a lot of like multi-limbed or multi-eyed monsters. There were a lot of ones that moved around in different ways, ones that looked like bugs, ones that looked like nightmares. There was a lot of creativity behind the scenes, and each of those monsters I feel like got their personality in these tiny little like joke scenes. Like I remember one in particular, the teacher, who we'll talk about in a second,
Mm.
asks a
Mm.
question. He's like, "Okay, who's next?" And you see all these hands start waving, and then the camera kind of like pans out, and it's all the hands that are waving belong to one little monster. So it's just one monster with like 10 hands, which I just thought was funny. It's a neat little joke. The guy probably doesn't have a name, but he gets a little moment there. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this teacher?
Oh my gosh. Let's talk about the
Let's talk
Gromble.
about the
Let's
Gromble.
talk about the
Is
Gromble.
it a lady? Is it a man? Nobody knows.
Yeah, it seems masculine in voice and I want to say authority,
Yes.
but he
But almost like
wears
a headmistress
red.
sometimes too.
Yeah, but he wear like correct me if I'm wrong. He wears like red high heels on each
Each of
of
his
his
four
four
feet. Yeah.
feet.
He's got a beard and a tail, but he's
He's got
got
a
like a
beard.
cinched belt around his waist and four
Yeah,
high heels. So I don't really know what's going
like
on with the
it's like an
Grumble.
empire waist on his slightly centaur body.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's
It's weird,
interesting.
but it's a great character. I mean, it's
It's a
the
great character. It's a great
it's
design.
great writing. It's the voice, and I think the dialogue and the writing, and just like the power she wields over all the students, because everybody like respects and fears the Grumble, because it's a great scarer, but also they're in charge of this entire school. So you better respect them too, and you
Yeah.
better fear them because they can make your life a living hell if you screw up.
Well, because he can send you to the school's
Ah,
disciplinarian.
the Snorch. The
Yes, the
Snorch.
Snorch.
Which, honestly, like, the character design of the Snorch is probably my least favorite.
Oh, okay.
It's just kind of like,
Well,
eh,
we should mention that the
yeah.
Snorch kind of is wearing like a he kind of looks like a big broad muscular kind of bully, but without like because of the t-shirt, there's like very little definition.
Exactly. So he's kind of Frankensteiny, but
He's kind of wearing like a green and like he's kind of wearing like a green version of like Rocco's shirt.
yeah, I feel like Rocco
Like
threw away his shirt in the dump, and over the
and
years,
the
the Snorch
Snorch
just
just takes
stitched
it
enough of
on.
them together to make his own.
And the Snorch is he kind of has like long he kind of has like long kind of looks like a bulldog a little bit like his face,
Yeah,
but like a bulldog with like kind of like longer kind of like sad dog
he's kind of
ears.
trollish. He's got a little troll to him,
Yeah,
or ogre, or some kind of. There's just
like a
not a
dog
lot of
ear.
interesting. I mean, we've talked about, Crumb's really interesting design, Ickis and Oblina, and then the Gromble, and then the Snorch is just kind of like, he's just this big lumbering thing. The only thing that
Yeah,
I think is interesting about him, other than how people
is
react to him,
his little
is
friend, his
little buddy Ximbo.
little buddy Ximbo. So Ximbo is it is amazing. Like Tim Curry,
Yes,
he's the
he
best.
really is. Let's
Oh
get him
man,
on the show. Come on, Mr. Curry. We know you're listening.
Tim Curry does the voice for Zimbo. So Zimbo is a like one-legged kind of like bee
Thing.
like
Yeah,
humanoid
it's
thing
weird. It's like
that like kind of
if your head turned into a bumblebee, and
yes,
then the rest of your body from the neck down was just one kind of hairy leg,
yes,
you would be Zimbo.
that would be
See what
Zimbo.
I mean
And
by
so
like
Zimbo,
unique and interesting? Like
yeah,
that I think is
but
interesting. Yeah.
just really kind of cool.
Yeah.
But like and like I guess to draw like a parallel, like if this was like a pirate, like the pirate would be the Snorch, and maybe like the parakeet would be Zimbo. Zimbo
Exactly.
just
That's
kind
good.
of like
That's good. I like that.
Zimbo just kind of like perches on the shoulder, and he kind of just like he talks very fast. I don't know if I can do like what his. Can you do like a Zimbo,
No, I
Dan?
mean I only got to watch the one where
Yeah,
Ickis gets sent to the Snorch kind of as like a punishment, as a detention kind of thing.
it's kind of like a no. What do you want? I'm going to go in here.
Yeah,
Everybody,
he's
come on
kind of
in
like he
here.
tries to be like an Italian merchant kind of thing.
Yeah,
That's what he does. But I feel like Curry was probably working out that particular character at the time. But yeah,
yeah.
it's an interesting take on it. I think maybe being in New York at the time, he was just kind of like a immigrant monster from a different world. Who knows? But an interesting design, and cool that he was, to Sean's point, like the parrot to the pirate, it would be like if the pirate was just its muscle and the parrot was actually the brains of the operation.
Yeah.
So to me, it's more like oh my god, Master Blaster
Yeah.
from from
Yeah.
Mad Max. Yeah, that's kind of what it's like.
it's 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 like a really weird like I think the thing that is the most interesting for me about like the Snorch in general
Right,
is just that like the idea of getting snorched is so frightening to these
right.
monsters.
It's like
Like
they are the scarers, but there still is something that scares them. Yeah,
right. And so like it's interesting to see what their vulnerability
right,
is and be exposed to that. It's just it's slightly like when you finally realize what the Snorch is doing,
right,
you're kind of like, all right. Like I don't know. I because they talk about like the Grumble introduces and talks about like different like types of
right.
punishment. So like even from like the first episode out to maybe make a transition
Definitely,
like
yeah.
the first episode out like he mentions that like so the idea for this the first episode is called the switching
Hmm.
hour and it is Halloween and Halloween is clearly a monster's biggest
Right.
holiday for them to go out and scare the shit out of
That's what it
kids.
reminded me of too, was Nightmare Before Christmas, because there were elements of
Yes.
that to it too. But continue.
Yes. And so the Gromble, because of how I guess poorly everybody has been doing,
Hmm.
like in class, as a punishment, everybody is sentenced. Everybody's I'm not sorry, not sentenced. They are banned. They are yeah, they are banned from going
Yeah,
out
they're
in
grounded.
like from venturing out to going out and participating in Halloween, like the biggest holiday they are just like told like, nope, you can't do it. And so he goes through this thing and he goes, if you go out, he goes, there's something bad, something really bad, or something you don't even want to know
Yeah, and
about.
he's
And you're
going
just
through
like,
these things as like
oh my
it's almost
god.
like what was the old game show where it was like what's behind door number one kind of thing.
Oh, let's make a
Let's
deal.
make a deal. Yeah, so
It's
you
like
would,
it's very much let's make a
but
deal.
like in like a hell
Let's make a
dimension.
deal with your hell.
Exactly. But I loved it because the first one was like this machine that looked like it would chew you up. The second one was kind of more of the same, and then the third one was just this like this, fairy tale looking
It looked
house, like a cottage in the
like a
woods.
Hansel and
Yeah,
Gretel,
exactly.
like
And
the witch's
and that was
house.
the worst one that they were all like terrified of.
Yeah,
So they
like,
have a lot of fun with things like that. Like even in one scene, Ickis, he thinks he's gonna get in trouble with the Grumble, and he's like, "Oh man, the Grumble, if he catches me, he's gonna put me in the trash compactor." And he's like, "And that's only fun the first time." So it's like stuff like that they
yeah,
play with because it's like things that would probably be terrible for us. The monsters kind of enjoy it, even though sometimes maybe it's not the best thing. But then it's things that are like sweet, things that are saccharine, things that should be pleasant to us are absolute torture to the monster. So I like how they play with that kind of idea. It's a lot of
right.
fun.
I mean, it's like a good, inverse of behavior of
Exactly.
kind of like what our expectations are. And so like it's fun to see that like they are so, because we should mention that like Snorch, when you get punished by the
Oh, do you want to
Snorch.
ruin it for people? Do you want to spoil it?
Well, yeah, I think we should.
Yeah,
I mean,
spoil
I
it. It's
think we
fine.
should get into it because I mean, like
It's been
we've
around
talked
for
enough
20
about.
years, people. Get to watching it. You can watch it
If
on
this is a
Amazon.
spoiler, if this is seriously a spoiler alert to you, what the fuck are you doing? Like, we've told you that we're going to be watching this show.
Yeah.
Get with the fucking
We've had
program.
35 episodes to prep you for this, so guess what? The dude in Brave Star, that kid fucking dies because he overdoses.
Ooh,
Spoiler alert.
that guy that took Crystal Twist, he lived.
Crystal Twist.
Oh boy.
You know,
So the punishment for the
Snorch.
Gromble
Yeah.
is that you go down into the Gromble's lair, and like I want to say they do preface this with it's the second episode. It's called Monsters Get
Right.
Real slash Snorched if you do, Snorched if you don't. And
Which I love that Crumb says that title. I love anytime you say the title of something in the episode, but yeah, Crumb says that, and then he just kind
I
of laughs and farts, I
I
think.
honestly get a little annoyed when it happens, but I mean like I this was something where I was
When
just
it's
like, oh
Crumb, it's fine, because he makes it funny, and he's just kind of like, oh,
yeah.
there it is. All right.
But so long story short,
Mm-hmm.
Ickis leaves his monster manual in this boy's room that he was attempting to scare, but the boy ended up scaring him.
Right.
And so he gets sent to the Snorch, and there's evidently it's like taking a ticket at a deli counter. There's
Right.
such a long wait,
Or the DMV or whatever, yeah.
yeah, that he's gonna be there forever. And so Oblina and Crumb come to his rescue, and they go out and they rescue the book.
Right. If they find the book and bring it back, yeah.
So right, so they bring the book back, or what they think is the book,
Right.
and they bring it and they hand it to Ickis right as he's about to go in for his punishment, and the Gromble is there. And there's like a little bit of a kerfuffle because they're just like, do we punish him for this thing? Because now he's like, they've made it right, but the Snorch is very shitty in the sense that he's like, well, yeah, he's like, well, Ickis is still going to get his punishment because he left his book behind.
Yeah, this
But
is
now
all
also,
Xinbo talking pretty much. Snorch is just kind of like growling and just looking really
yeah,
eager
we
to get
should
on
we
with the
should say
punishment.
this that like Snorch just does nonstop recycled Foley of just
Yeah, that's about it. He's like Muzzy from the Learn How to Speak French tapes, which only 10 of you listening will remember. But it is basically Muzzy.
Oh, I know what that is.
I know. I knew you would.
Son of a bitch.
Somebody out there's laughing. Everybody else is
That
like, get
is,
back to the monsters.
get back to the
Talk
monsters.
about Ickis.
So so the Gromble, instead of rewarding Oblina and Crumb, punishes them for doing another monster's assignment
Exactly.
and sends all three of them to be snorched. And you very quickly find out that being snorched is simply it is Xinbo and it is the Snorch, and they sing soprano. They sing soprano opera,
Right.
where like the Snorch wears kind of like that like Bavarian woman.
He's got the
You know,
horns, the
he's
horn
got the
helmet,
horns
and
and like the kind of uh like Viking
Yeah,
bra
yeah.
over top and like the Viking spear, and they just begin singing, and that's like, and then it's just like blackout, like, and that's it.
It was
Like,
cracking me up though because they did it over the credits too. So like Xinbo will be actually like singing, and the Snorch has the same sound effect he uses over and over again. He's just like brarp, brarp. It's such a weird sound, like, and they just use it over and over, and they make no excuses of like trying to make him sing at all. He's just brarp.
they just don't seem to give a shit at
But it's
all.
a
It's
lot of
great.
fun, man. I mean, the Snorch was fun. Do you want to get into the episodes a little bit here? Just kind of give them a high view of
Sure.
it, but
Yeah, I mean, we kind of gave them episode two, and we should mention that all of these are available on Amazon Prime.
yes,
So,
yes, in order too, which is nice.
and yeah, which surprising.
Yeah.
Um, so the switching hour is
Yeah,
the
that's our intro. That's kind.
yeah.
Was it a
It's,
pilot or was it just the first episode?
I think it just.
Um,
I mean, I didn't see anything that credited as a pilot. It
no.
just. I mean, it was clearly the pilot episode being the first, but I mean, they just kind of like threw everybody like right in to the world. So, I mean, we talked a little bit about it, about like
Yeah, the
the
Halloween.
Halloween. Um,
So eventually, the trio, the Grumble tells them, no, everybody's grounded, but it's Halloween night, and these are basically like high school, college age monsters. So they're like, no, we're getting out. We're gonna go out. We're gonna go scare, and we're gonna have a good time. We just won't
right.
get
So
caught. Yeah.
the big thing, or like the big question that I kind of have about this entire show,
Hmm.
in general, not just this first episode pilot, is that like the Grom, like how they, it's the delivery of their assignments.
Yes.
There is a machine in this Monster Institute, that you sit in, and it's like placed over your head. It's sort of like what you would use, like if you were to like kill somebody by like electrocution.
Yeah, I was gonna
Um,
say at first when you're making it sound almost gentle when you're like, it's a machine that you sit in. It's like, no, there's these
no,
claws that just reach
it's
down and
these it's
grab you
these
from your
it's
chair.
these two like hand claws that jump down,
Yeah.
and they're like retractable hands. They grab you, pick you up forcibly,
Slam you into
throw you
this.
into a chair. There's wrist cuffs that go over top of both of your
It's
wrists,
very
strap
traumatic.
you in. Yeah, and then there's like a bucket that kind of comes down on top of your head, and then
For
it turns your eyes into
yeah,
a projector
yeah.
so that everybody can see what your thoughts were during the point in time that you were supposed to have done this specific
Yeah,
assignment.
it's almost like getting called up to class to stand in front of everybody and tell everybody about the chapter you read last night, except it shows it in like video form. So it is
Can
replaying your
you
previous scare.
can you imagine like if that had happened? Like if you had like gotten up in front of like somebody like when you were a child, and they'd be like, "All right, David, tell us about what you did last night," and you're just like, "Boner, boner, 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 boner."
Keep
Like
it
that would
down,
have
baseball, baseball, grandma.
been nuns.
Yeah, ooh, I don't know. Sometimes you get a thing for nuns. Might have a nun thing.
Hey, I'm not gonna judge you,
Hey,
but
nuns, if you're listening, Saturday morning cartoons at gmail.com.
hey, nuns, if you're looking to break your vow of chastity,
Oh dear, wow.
contact Dave.
Oh boy.
Cops.
Cops.
I
Nuns. Can we
hope we have a
start a
lot.
Cops sequel just called Nuns, please? About cyborg nuns in the
I really
future that
want to
just.
write this. I really want
Oh,
to write
this
this.
is going to be so good.
Every wipe is just gonna be,
Nuns.
oh, that's beautiful. That's
Habits.
so habits.
That nun sure got a bad habit. Oh boy. Oh, I had to
Oh,
do it.
yeah,
I
I
had to
know,
do
I
it.
know. I enjoyed it though.
Okay, let's bring
I'm
this back
groaning,
around.
but I'm very happy right now.
How did
Yeah.
we get here?
So
Yeah.
there was like there's this strange machine that kind of like shows exactly everything that they do. So like in my mind, like the nobody has to, if anybody sets a rule out and is just like, don't do this thing, there's no you literally cannot go and do that thing without having to potentially sit in that chair, and they'll view whatever it was anyway.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the tension. It's not only like here's your assignment, you got to go do this scare or scare at this level or this number of people. It's like if he sets a ground rule like you cannot do this and then nabs you the next day, like you're gonna get caught. So you just
You're
kind of have to
fucked.
hope.
Like you
You
were
either
really
don't
super
do it
fucked.
and you play, you're the good kid and you don't do it and you do what you're told, or you just hope that you don't get caught. And I love how it turns around at the end of this episode though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of fun throughout the episode. Ickis, at the very opening, he kind of like He's in a trash can just eating, which I don't know why, because he lives in a dump. I don't know what he's doing in a trash can, but this kid finds him, and they kind of like scare each other away. And then the kid, this human kid, is inspired by Ickis, so he makes an Ickis costume. So of course, when everybody's out for Halloween night, those two end up switching places, and that's why it's called the switching hour. So Ickis ends up as like part of this family, this like human family that doesn't know this little creep monster is not their son. And then the Oblina and Crumb soon figure out that this is a human kid. This is not Ickis. But there's a
Right.
lot of a lot of humor that goes. It's the classic kind of switched kid tale,
The old
the
switcheroo.
old switcheroo, the old twinsies.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's fun.
No,
They
I
have a
mean,
lot of fun with
yeah.
it. But I think they don't try to teach lessons in this show, which I found refreshing. They don't. It's not a
Yes.
kids show that teaches you lessons and just like rams it down your throat. Because basically at the end of
Yeah,
this
you
episode,
listen, you listening up, Doug?
yeah, well,
Calm the fuck down.
get your head out of your journal, go root around the dump. But I mean, they all have their pros and cons, their faults and their shining points. But for real monsters, basically at the end of this episode, the Grumble is like he calls out Oblina Crumb and Ickis, and you're watching this like, oh shit, they're about to get snorched, whatever that means. And he tells the rest of the monsters, he's like, look to these three because they are going to be the leaders of the future because they, basically sacked up and they acted like real monsters. I think he actually says they weren't panty wastes in his
Yeah.
dialogue. He's like, they didn't
Yeah.
act like a bunch of panty wastes and they went out and they had fun on Halloween. They still got punished, but he kind of like sort of rewarded them for being rebellious
Yeah.
and being monsters and doing what they were supposed to do. I thought that was cool.
It's that situation where like an authority figure
Yes.
tells you not to do something, you do it anyway, and then the authority figure is just like, I'm so fucking proud of you.
Exactly, and that's such a
Like
great thing. Yeah,
this is such a great and confusing message at the same
right.
time. Like I don't know how to interpret this, but I'm fine with it, I
It's cool
guess.
because it's one of those things where it's like once you're in that position of authority, you realize like, okay, I'm responsible for you. I have to tell you to do this because it's
Yeah.
the right thing. But if you do that, I'm going to be slightly disappointed. And if you go out and have fun or whatever, that's what you're supposed to be doing right now, even if it's a stupid
Yeah.
thing to do. So I was like, if I was in your shoes, I'd be proud of you too. But I like that. I like that it was kind of like real with the kids and it wasn't trying to be a moral tale about monsters who lived in a dump. They were just having fun. They were just kids out
Right.
having fun, and nobody got hurt really. So it's pretty cool.
I like that that's your like call. You're like, you know what? I liked it because like nobody got
Yeah,
hurt.
no, none of these cartoons got hurt.
Normally when I watch a cartoon and somebody gets hurt, I'm not happy
I'm
about it.
not
But if
real
somebody
happy
gets
about it.
hurt,
Somebody gets
listen,
the spiral plague. What the hell did they even call it? It doesn't matter.
the,
It
the spirals.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't
They didn't
matter.
get the plague.
They
But so we talked about. I just want to bring this back around to Ickis real quick. When we
do
wrap
it.
this first episode up here. So we talked about Crumb was confident, Oblina was talented, Ickis was just kind of there. And he is the sort of main character that you're introduced to in this first episode. By episode's end, he gets so fed up with the humans that have kind of like kidnapped him, for lack of a better word. He gets so pissed off and so frustrated with them that he actually finds his kind of like inner monster, and he does what's called looming. Looming it runs in his family. His father was a very
Right.
successful scarer. He comes from a long line of loomers. Looming is basically when you just kind of like swell up.
Please tell me that it's like he like works a
He
loom and
just
like
weaves.
turns
He
like a yeah
just
just weaves
weaves a
like
nightmare
a beautiful
tapestry. Yeah, and
nightmare
then just
tapestry.
suffocates you with it.
Oh boy.
No,
So I'm sorry. Looming is what
yeah,
typically?
the other definition of looming, he basically looms large, is what that amounts to. He swells up to like,
Lord.
10, 20 times his size. His eyes go blood red. His bunny ears get pinned back and his fangs grow in. And he just like fills up the entire room. And you usually see him a little bit in the transformation. And then you just see the reactions of the people as they're watching him. And you see kind of like his shadow just kind of grow over them.
Yeah.
And then they freak out and get the hell out of there. And he does that a couple times, but he always has trouble getting his confidence up to that point to kind of loom large.
Well,
Uh,
he does mention like, and it was odd that I was taking notes as I was watching this
yeah,
episode, but like I wrote down, it seems like it seems like this looming is more instinctual than anything
yeah,
else.
it's
And then
reactionary.
he actually,
Yeah,
yeah, and then he actually says in one of the in episode 2, he actually says it is more instinctual. But I mean, I agree with you. Like it's like looming only comes about like when circumstances arise where
Right.
he feels threatened or people that he's with are threatened,
Exactly.
and then he reacts accordingly. But until then, like he just kind of remains skittish and meek,
Yeah, and he
and just
struggles with that.
very
That's kind of like his
certain.
character
Yeah.
struggle throughout the series, and they all
I,
have like.
I mean, who
Yeah,
doesn't?
exactly. I wish I could loom, dude. We were talking about this offline. Like, don't you ever just want to loom when people are just they just frustrate you to the point that you just want to slap them, but you
Yeah, every
can't
day.
this day and age? So if you could just loom instead and not actually hit anybody, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
I would love
Not,
that.
I would never hit somebody. I would want to loom and scare the crap out of
Yeah,
them and then have them like run out of a room
yeah.
and then I'd be like, all right, well, that was
All
good. That
right,
was
that was a
cathartic.
good loom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, David, would you say that you recommend this show?
I do. I honestly, we had a short week again this week. I wish we would have had more time to watch a few more episodes because they have some interesting characters that come in later on. There's Simon the Monster Hunter, who is a human who's obsessed with monsters and hunting them down and killing them basically as like trophies. So this comes up quite a bit later on in the series of the three monsters kind of running afoul of Simon and trying to escape from him
Yeah.
because he wants to put their heads on the wall basically.
Yeah, he wants to prove to everybody that like
Yeah,
monsters actually do
yeah,
exist.
exactly. So that's kind of a fun thing they add in later on. And I mean, honestly, I would just watch it for a bit of a different take on a Nicktoon, for the character design, the humor, and the writing that they really inject into this show. Especially if you haven't seen it, or you just think that like, oh man, all these all this crap's for kids. Like, this wasn't an adult, oriented cartoon by any means, but there were a lot of like, kind of double entendre innuendo jokes that I didn't really get until I was a lot older. So it's
Yeah.
fun to go back and watch. How about you? What do you think about this one?
Um, yeah, I would recommend
Yeah.
this. I would say I don't know that. I mean, I don't know beyond like the first couple episodes
Right.
that this show would really super hold my attention. Um, I not. I mean, I guess like in comparison to the way that like some of the other
Sure.
like when I watched Ren and Stimpy, like, and I was just smiling like ear to ear. I mean, that was like a truly nostalgic moment for me. And I remember I watched a lot of Ah Real
Yeah.
Monsters growing up. And I enjoyed every minute of it. And I think for the same reasons that you said, Dave, it's interesting to watch. Like I would recommend it for those reasons, but I think beyond a couple episodes, I don't know that I would be. Some of it's a little bit
Hmm.
formulaic, and you can kind of see where it's
Oh yeah,
going.
definitely.
Nothing's going to be surprising
I don't know
to.
about that because they do have some monsters and
I mean, there
characters that
there
literally come out of the woodwork at different
Yeah,
points.
and there are some fun things that happen.
Yeah.
Like I remember there was one episode, and I guess this is like Super Bowl relevant. They have one episode that's called The Great Wave,
Okay.
which is like during halftime for the Super Bowl, everybody runs and uses the restroom, and
Okay.
so monsters like flood to the
Oh, that's
sewers to be
right.
able to kind of
I remember that.
like surf all of our waste.
I think there's one
And,
like
and
it's like Crumb's pimple or something where he like this thing pops out of him that's like a mini Crumb and it just starts running
yeah,
around. I mean, it's just
yeah.
weird stuff.
So I mean, like, there's a lot of like really interesting and unique stuff that's in it, and I just, I mean, I think I'd have to hunt and peck for like those specific
Right.
episodes. I mean, I definitely recommend the show. It's definitely out of all the Nicktoons that we've watched, it's very unique. There's a lot of things that are consistently surprising, if not some of it's a little bit formulaic.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it was still great to go back and watch it. And I mean, the three main characters that are in this show, with the addition of the Gromble, like, I mean, that cast really kind of rounds out and makes like a very solid performance. And I mean, fuck, the show's got Tim Curry
Exactly.
as a
Well, and all those
humanoid
other voice
like
actors too, but
bee on top of somebody's like what the fuck, what the fuck else do you
yeah,
want,
that's
people?
all you need.
Like I'm not just for Tim Curry alone. Like I don't
Well,
care.
look, I'm going to ask you this question now too, since we are wrapping up our New Year's Nicktoons. Of these five, maybe rank them or at least give me your top favorite series.
I'd say Ren and
You want to
Stimpy's
go
my
Ren and
favorite.
Stimpy? That was a
Yeah,
pretty quick response, so
Ren and Stimpy is definitely. I'm trying to keep it 100.
yeah, yeah.
Ren and Stimpy is definitely my favorite. Um, I don't know. I don't know that I. I mean, I enjoyed Doug and
Hmm.
Rugrats, but I don't know if I would rank them that high up. I mean, I think that the second place might be tied between like Rocco and Aro
Yeah, I
Monsters.
think that's fair. I'm actually thinking, honestly, like just thinking about this tonight and watching these shows again tonight. I feel like the one that I want to go back and watch the most might actually be All Real Monsters. Just because
Oh, okay.
thinking about it now, like there's a lot that maybe it's because I don't remember it quite as much, but what I do remember, I remember really enjoying, and I don't remember getting bored by it. I don't know. I can remember a lot of the Ren and Stimpy things that they stand out very, very strongly, and Rocco too. But I feel like maybe just the newness or the relative newness of All Real Monsters might be calling me. So I feel like maybe I want to check out a few more of those. But it's definitely
Yeah,
been
I
fun
get
going back through all five of these series. It's been a lot of fun.
absolutely. I think maybe sort of the like being an adult now, I think some of the situations that Rocco gets into
Yes.
resonate with
Right.
me. I think having gone through university, the things of like All Real Monsters resonate a little bit more
Yeah,
with
we have
me.
more of a context to what
Um,
they're actually talking about in like the lecture hall
right.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
But I mean, I think just, the like the spastic kind of like crazy nature of just life in general and just sort of the person that I am, I think Ren and Stimpy still resonates with me the most.
Fair enough, man. The good thing is that in all five of these New Year's Nicktoons, I think there's something for everybody out there. It's like each one that we hit was different enough from the one before it that it can find an audience for anybody. If you
Absolutely.
don't like kind of the gross out, kind of hyper realistic sometimes humor of Ren and Stimpy, check out Rugrats or Doug. If you like something a little more whimsical and creative and gross, then check out All Real Monsters and Rocco maybe.
Yeah.
There's something for everybody. So if you remember them fondly as a kid, haven't watched them in 10, 20 years, head over to Amazon and check them out. If you've never watched them before, definitely head to Amazon and check some of these out. And let us know. If you take a watch, if you take a look at them, or if you revisit them for the first time in a couple of decades, definitely let us know. Let us know some of your favorites too. That's about it for New Year's Nicktoons, though, man. We're wrapping it up. We're getting back to the regular
Oh,
crazy starting next
oh
week.
man. Hey Dave,
Yeah,
in like the next couple of weeks, like
yeah.
what are you up to
Oh
like
boy.
in your evenings? Where can I find you on the WWW?
You can find me just tethered to the internet by a Ethernet cable. Why? Because I'm over at Collider.com. Hey, guess what? We actually have a brand new redesign over at Collider.com. It looks a lot
Get the
sharper.
fuck out.
Yeah, it's a lot cleaner. It's a lot crisper. There's a lot less ads kind of floating around. And you can find not only Collider.com content for a lot of movies and set visits and interviews, all kinds of fun stuff. We've also got a spin off site. So we've got a TV dedicated site, Collider.com, the TV section. So you'll see both links up at the top of the page. You can find my content on both sites, but for the most part, I'll be sticking to TV because I cover all the superhero movies. Well, for the most part, all the superhero movies going on throughout the week. So I've got Gotham on Mondays, I got The Flash on Tuesdays, we've got Arrow on Wednesdays, and for a little bit yet, we've got Constantine on Fridays. And then coming
Oh
up
my
soon,
God.
after the Super Bowl, we've got The Walking Dead coming back in February. So I'll do recaps each and every week on each and every one of those shows. So feel free to come on by, take a read, and let me know what you think. That's it for me. Sean, you're a busy guy. What do you got coming up
Oh
in the
my
next
God.
month?
Fuck.
Get excited.
I no,
He's
I just
excited, ladies and gentlemen. He
yeah,
really
I'm
is.
very
He
exciting.
is.
I've been doing a lot of scheduling. You can find me at I'll be performing with Washington Improv Theater as a part of their winter road show that they have that's at the DC Art Center or DCAC
Mm-hmm.
in Adams Morgan. You can find me. I'll be performing there on the 31st of January, the 7th, and the 14th. It's Valentine's Day, ladies.
Ooh, God.
Um,
Psst.
I'll be performing there for the next 3 weeks. All shows are at 7:30, and you can find tickets at witdc.org. And then, man, I'm super pumped because the end of February, I am flying out to San Diego.
Awesome.
I'm going to be performing at the San Diego Improv Festival on February 20th. I believe the show's at 8:30. We're opening up for another Chicago-based duo group called Dummy, and they are wonderful. So I'm super pumped and excited to head out there and do the show. I will have more dates shortly for March and April. So I'm pumped up. Actually, I think the show that I'm doing this week is totally sold out.
Nice,
It's
man.
sold out like, in advance. So that'll be fun.
Congratulations.
It's always nice to know that a show sold out in advance
And if you,
to go and have a packed
ladies,
house.
ladies and gentlemen, if you come dressed as a nun, Sean will do a special shout out for you. Uh,
Actually, oddly enough, I believe majority of the tickets 48 out of the 50 tickets for this week's show were sold to a group from Catholic University in DC. So that'll be a ton of
From
fun.
Sister Mary's Convent, 34th and Vine.
Can't
Oh,
wait.
it's gonna be
So
sassy
yeah,
times.
it'll be a
That's
blast.
awesome, man. That's
Super
awesome.
excited.
Yeah, definitely
So
come on out and see Sean. You can't see me because I'm locked in my house 20 hours out of a day.
20 hours out of the day.
Yep.
Yeah, but you can also find me on Instagram and Twitter at Sean Paul Ellis. And Dave, where can I find you on the webs?
Oh, on the Twitter, you can find me at Dr. Claw MD. If you're interested in more about Saturday morning cartoons, you can find us on Twitter at Morning Tunes. Remember, that's morning with a U. If you want to check out our site, along with all the show notes and a lot of info for where you can see Sean for his upcoming shows, head on over to SaturdayMorningCartoons.com. Remember, that's morning with a U. You can also check out Sean's handiwork on our Tumblr page, SaturdayMorningCartoons.tumblr.com, and send us all your nun fetish fan fiction, Saturday Morning Cartoons
Please send that to me.
at gmail.com. If you have a
Oh
script
my
treatment
God.
for the cartoon Nuns, I
None.
really, what I'd love for listeners
None.
to do is to make an acronym out of that word. I want to know what you
Oh
turn nuns
man,
into.
that'd be great.
Ooh, we're going to get to work on that right away.
Oh God.
That's it, buddy. New Year's Nicktoons is done. Moving on with the rest of our lives here.
Oh my God.
What do you got
So
coming up
I
for
think
people next week?
yeah, I think the best thing is that we have been we've reviewed 5 weeks worth of like really good
Yeah,
cartoons.
let's get
And
back to
now
the shit.
let's get right back into the trash. Let's just
Dive
dumpster
into
dive our
that
way back
pile.
into this filth.
Mm.
Next week is my pick, and we are gonna watch. This is available on
Mm.
YouTube. Jace and the Wheeled
Oh
Warriors.
no. Oh
Yeah, you're
no.
welcome.
I know there are a handful of people that have been looking forward to this,
Oh man,
myself included. I know nothing about
I
this.
I watched a lot of Jason the Wheeled Warriors when I was younger,
Did you?
and
Okay.
I feel like because we've been talking a lot about environmental issues, I feel like it'll have a significant impact.
I don't understand what that means, but I guess we'll find out next week.
Oh, is that a leading question given by Sean? I think it
I
is,
think
David.
it is. Hey, you know what, buddy? I'm gonna let you do our outro tonight. I want to hear. We've got the Wilhelm scream. We've got the Howie scream.
Oh no.
Let's. This is for posterity here, so I want to hear the Ellis scream. That's gonna be our
Oh,
outro
man.
tonight. Cover your ears,
I'm
kids.
gonna I'm gonna move back a little bit.
All right, go
So,
step on a nail or fall off a horse or something.
all right, ready?
I'm ready.
Ah!
Thanks for listening.